So let's talk about your web presence. Being online has a lot of different connotations. Just having your business listed in a directory like this, such as the Yellow Pages, is not what most people consider having a web presence. These days, a web presence for a local business consists of having your own website and being listed in various directories and having a social media presence. So we'll review all of these options. Now, since earlier in the course we used a pest control company as an example, I'll try to stick with that through the rest of the course just for some consistency, but every once in a while I'll throw in some different mixes as well just to keep it a little bit varied. If you don't already have a website, you'll want to own your own website, not just a listing on a local directory. This means that you'll need to purchase a domain name. Now, a domain name costs about $12 a year. If possible, it's a good idea to get a domain name that has the name of your city and then the name of your service, product or service in it, even if that's not the name of your company. It's a good idea to start as much as possible thinking about what people will be searching for online, and if it's possible, to use that in your domain name. The things that people search for are called keywords, and we're going to talk a lot more about that later in the course. Now, you can research possible domain names at any domain registrar, but I prefer to use the registrar GoDaddy.com, which is the biggest of them and is very reliable. Now, you'll also need to host the website. That's going to cost you about $5 per month. If you don't have a host, I recommend using a company called HostGator. They have a very reliable system and it's very inexpensive. Now, again, if you don't have a website of your own already, you're going to want to use a system called a content management system, usually abbreviated as CMS. Now, a content management system is a system that separates the content from your site, which is the words and images in the form of blog posts, articles, and forms, etc., from the way that that content is displayed. The way it's displayed is called using a template. Now, you want to use a CMS because they're very easy to use and don't require you to know any HTML or CSS or other web programming technologies. That allows you to focus on your business and leave the technology to this CMS, which handles everything for you. Now, also, for reasons that you'll see further in the SEO section later in the course, CMSs provide an automated way of reporting changes to your website to Google and to other search engines. There are three CMSs which are most common on the web. WordPress is the most common. Although WordPress was originally designed as a blogging system and is still very blog-centric, it does now allow you to do very much more than just a website with a blog. So it's a very common choice these days. The next most popular CMS system is one called Joomla. Joomla is a very flexible system allowing you to achieve anything that you need on a website. Joomla happens to be my favorite choice. And finally, the third most common CMS is one called Drupal. Drupal, again, is another very sophisticated and flexible content management system. And it actually is a little bit more complicated to use because of the flexibility that it allows. So usually it's reserved for kind of more enterprise type systems. Now, all of these systems can be installed by you if you take the time to learn them. None of them are particularly difficult to do, but if you use WordPress, that'll be the easiest one, and probably on a spectrum, Drupal would be the most complicated. Again, Joomla seems to be my favorite because of the flexibility that it has. I love the templates that are available for it, and it doesn't feel like it's pushing me to be a blog. It's a full-fledged website system. Now, choosing any of these three content management systems, you can create an amazing looking website or you can create an awful looking website. It all depends on your sense of design. So hopefully you're mature enough to know whether or not you have that sense of design or not, and if you have the skills to do it. Otherwise, be prepared to hire a web designer or web developer that will do that work for you. Again, if you have an ugly website, right, nobody is going to Nobody's going to visit it, or when they do visit it, they're not going to want to do business with you. So these are just a couple of examples of some websites that I consider eyesores, and there's no way I would spend more than a few seconds on these sites to learn anything about them. If you, on the other hand, use a more beautiful looking website that is visually rich, well organized, and easy to use, then people are going to spend more time here and more likely to do business with you, because your website, again, is a representation of your business and yourself. So it's got to be beautiful. Now, we've all seen some websites that are obviously lacking in style, and conversely, we immediately recognize good design. And there's a few things that every website should have at the very least. So number one, it's got to have a home page. This is the page that shows up when people kind of first arrive at your site, and this is where you're going to communicate to people your main message. So what you want to do here is have a visually rich version of your core story and unique selling proposition, so that people can immediately see what you're all about and what makes you special. You also want to have something about your company, but again, you want to keep it as much as possible not feature-based, but benefit-based from the user's point of view, which is kind of tricky when you're talking about yourself. But still, you want to state as much as possible from the client's point of view what your company is going to do for them. So you can, again, use your unique selling proposition here. Now, thirdly, you're going to want to talk about what it is that you do, about your product or service. Now, in the case of a pest control company, we're going to be talking about the specific pests that they help to control, to rid you of. Now, we want to use, in this case, your core story as much as possible. So again, we're doing education-based marketing. So a lot of your information should be kind of education-based, giving them information, right? You don't want to give away any of your trade secrets or anything, but you're going to give them as much information as you can to get them interested and knowledgeable about why it is that they need your services, and definitely a way for them to reach out and contact you. All right, and there should be an invitation to do that. Finally, you should have a generic way for people to contact you. So if they just arrive at the site, there should be a way for them to just click on a button and very easily reach out to you. If they know, if they're of that 3% that just are ready to buy, they either want to visit your premises, send you an email, or phone you. And so you got to have a very clear contact us link that helps people be able to get to you as quickly as possible. Now, having said that, once you have your site developed, and even if you already have it developed, it's a good idea to get some feedback on the site from friends and family, because your website is a very key part of getting your message out there and converting browsers into paying customers. Now also, keep in mind the goal of the site. Unless you're actually selling entirely online, which for a local business, most likely that's not what you're doing, you want to convince people to either call you or visit your premise. So that is the goal of the site, is to convert people into contacting you and reaching out to your business to visit you or strike up some further conversation.